Tonight here on Fox 10 News, we tell you about crime in our area.
And you know, some of the time the people committing these crimes are repeat offenders, troublemakers, thugs, whatever you want to call them. They're a menace to society. So
over the last 2 months, we've been trying to figure out how these career criminals keep getting out of prison. What we found out was very disturbing.
Fox News reporter Libby Amos has been digging through the documents, trying to make sense of it all.
That's right, the legal mumbo-jumbo. Libby?
Bob and Lanice, the state of Alabama will soon be under new leadership. One question we should be asking is, will it address the overcrowding in the state's prison system? The people who are close to this issue understand the problems the state is up against. Too many criminals and not enough money to keep them locked up. But if you've never had an encounter or reason to understand how the whole prison process works, you may be shocked to find out. Tonight we take you inside the barbed wire fence for a closer look at what has become the most overcrowded prison system in the entire nation. It's a #1 ranking Alabama would rather not have. Being tops in the nation when it comes to prison overcrowding is not only dangerous, it's expensive too. The state is shelling out $400 million a year to keep inmates locked up. Richard Allen is the commissioner of the Alabama Department of Corrections.
Well, we have over 26,400 inmates incarcerated in our facilities around the state. These facilities were originally designed to hold a little over 13,000 inmates. So we have crammed into our facilities now about 190% of the capacity that they were designed for. And we're the most overcrowded system in the country at 190% of our design capacity. And the problems that come with trying to manage a system with that many inmates are just numerous.
We are facing a potential crisis in this state when it comes to corrections. I have said that for several years.
State Representative John Knight, an advocate for the DOC within the legislature, says lawmakers want to appropriate money for things like education and Medicare.
So nobody wants to hear anything about putting more money into corrections.
The Alabama prison system receives the least amount of state funding compared to all 50 states. It also operates the most overcrowded prison system in the country. The DOC gets 2.6% of the state's budget.
The average throughout the country was 6.8%. So if the legislature doubled the budget for this department, we still wouldn't meet the national average. That's how far below we are on funding the prisons in Alabama. Now, I think the people of Alabama, if they knew what the employees at the Department of Corrections do, would be amazed. I mean, we are overpopulated, we are understaffed, we are underpaid, underfunded, and yet we haven't had a major prison riot since 1985 in this state.
Consider this. A new prison hasn't been built in 20 years, even though the inmate population continues to rise. And to make matters worse, the DOC's budget has been cut 5 years in a row. That means fewer correctional officers are supervising more inmates.
I don't see any change coming in the very near future unless we have additional revenue. The money just isn't there.
Overcrowding isn't exclusive to Alabama, but states like Florida handle it differently. Florida state law mandates its prison system be fully funded. If the numbers increase past capacity, prisoners must be released to make room. Bennett Wright is an expert on prison stats. He says safety inside prison walls is a dangerous battle correction officers wage every day.
Just if you looked at by-the-books ratio of officers to inmates, the overall ratio would be 1 to 11. However, that's assuming that a correctional officer works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's just not the case. It's not uncommon at some institutions at certain times for one correctional officer to watch upwards of 150 to 200 inmates in some sort of dorm setting.
While the Alabama system juggles its heads in beds problem, the number of people on their way to prison keeps growing.
The actual southern region of the United States has the highest incarceration rate by far. 1 out of every 100 adults is either in prison or jail. And then 1 out of every 31 adults is either in prison, jail, on probation, or on parole.
The numbers are staggering, but the solution may be even worse.
Well, if the population continues to grow, the state's going to face the choice of either building more prisons, leasing more prisons, or finding some way to let people out early. You don't have those are about the options.
If we don't find additional funding, we're going to have to let people out in the future. I would hope in this next session of the legislature that corrections would be an issue that we're willing to address.
The DOC already knows the state's general fund budget doesn't have anything extra to give, leaving only one option on the table.
In an effort to keep the prison system from collapsing under the weight of overcrowding and being underfunded, drastic measures have been taken to alleviate the problem. Prisoners get rewarded for being on good behavior, and judges have been asked to alter their sentences in order to keep the prison population from growing out of control.
What the rule tells us to do is to try to separate people that we're afraid of from people we're just simply mad at. The people we're afraid of go to the penitentiary.
So who is the system sending to prison, and how quickly are they getting out? You may be shocked to find out. Tomorrow night I'll show you a Mobile man convicted of manslaughter who barely served a third of his sentence before he was back out on the street. Bob?